Hi, my name is Nariba Shepherd.
And I'm Justin Arnett Graham.
And this is Terms of Service.
You keep
I'm changing
doing
it up.
the thing.
I'm trying to think about different ways to do it.
And I love that for us. I do. How are you?
Good. Just, basking in the fact that we've somehow managed to make it all the way to this year, our Lord, 2023.
Facts. And we did it.
Ow.
Yeah.
Barely.
I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how we got there.
But we here.
Because you can crawl over that finish line, honey, and that's okay.
I feel like we've been doing that the last couple of years, as the world. Just like one broken leg, but we're still fucking going.
We're still fighting.
We're showing up to every shift.
We're still fighting the fight, and that makes me very happy. But also very exhausting.
How are you though?
I'm great.
Staying out of trouble. Plotting for us 2 summers out.
Yeah. So very much out of trouble, but very much in the mix.
Nice.
So I can't complain, But if I could,
yes.
Who gives a shit?
Oh, I thought we were about to have a tea.
Oh no.
No.
But we will be having tea time later today.
Oh, I did
during
see
this
the
episode.
pot out.
Yes. So that
the imposter syndrome pot.
Yeah. Yes.
If you like to watch your tea become tea at home,
Yeah, get yourself this expensive ass pot. Yes. Absolutely. So back again, very excited, very, I want to say heightened energy.
Yes.
Because we have another guest, and she herself is such a fucking powerhouse that I literally just have to kick it over to you, Jackson, because this is this is going to be so good. How are you?
I'm so good. I cannot believe that we're doing this right now.
Yes.
Believe it. You're in it.
I'm glad
I can't believe that we do
it
it ever.
Yeah, all the time.
I've seen you guys in your element, so to be sitting here with you and part of the conversation, it's a little surreal for me.
I'm glad that this is happening because I feel like by the time we got to dinner at Perilla,
shout out to the homies at Perilla.
Yeah. I was
so
like...
good. I'm still full.
It's, I was like, full. I was so lit that I was trying to have conversations with people, but I was like, so, So I'm very grateful that you're back and we can have more conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yes. And the lit-o-meter is going to be significantly less because we're going to be enjoying some spirit-free offerings.
We're going to be lit in our spirits.
Lit in our hearts.
Yes, that's what I said.
Well,
they can't see me rubbing upon my heart area.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
I stopped myself from saying titties 3 times in the middle of that.
Well, this is a safe space.
It is a safe space. So speak how you will.
Yes.
Jackson, hi.
Hi, friends.
Yes. So please introduce yourself because as I had mentioned, I can't do you justice.
Dang, well, hopefully I can do me some justice.
You can.
Jackson Flores. I am the president and co-founder of Dish Roulette Kitchen.
Yes.
I know that's right.
Thank you. We're a 501c3 located at 1316 West 18th Street in Pilsen.
Dope.
And we provide funding and education to minority-owned restaurant owners. We support women, people of color, and undocumented entrepreneurs. Figure their shit out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
An
real.
incubation station.
That's right.
Yeah.
But before we get
community.
into all of that,
Oh, yeah, I know. We about to figure out what your sign is.
Oh, yeah. I know my sign.
Yes.
I think I was asked what my birth chart is. I do not know that for sure.
That's okay.
But I am a Taurus. I'm a Aries Taurus cusp.
Wait, what day?
April 22nd.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I have a special place in my heart for the Taurus people. Y'all are something else in the best possible way. It's if you are filled with logic and you move into
I'm processing. I gotta process.
You have logic and you use it in a way that makes me personally as an Aries, but I feel like just people in general feel like they've not had enough thought on something. Like,
Word.
y'all show up with solutions when no one is asking for them.
Oh my God, I've never felt more seen.
And
Wow.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's a special brand. Yes.
Yeah.
All of like my very close friends, usually when it instantly happens, it's because they're a Taurus, because I have no stability and I need that.
Well, the one thing, because Nariba's the expert
The
here,
Taurians.
but no one is more of an expert than the person that is living in their space,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like living in their
But
in
like
their reality.
based on what you do, it makes sense.
Checks out
that you're
Absolutely.
a Taurus.
Absolutely checks out.
Yeah.
So I love Tauruses. Taurus men and I, we don't vibe.
I don't think I've ever met a Taurus man.
Oh, they're out there.
I'm in a
This I don't know.
relationship with one, and I want to murder him all the time. But I love him a lot because balance.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Well, okay,
yeah.
I have. All right, so
go
you're
for
like
it.
well versed in all of this, right? So
For the most part, yeah.
okay, I'm born on April 22nd, right? Which is also Earth Day. My last name is Flores, also flowers. Is there some type of correlation there, or am I like selling people on this story that's not even
I mean,
it's not even accurate?
if it
I don't
means
think that
something
you're
for
selling
you,
them on any-
it
anything
you,
inaccurate.
yeah, why not? Because
Yeah.
it's like April showers bring May flowers, or is it March showers?
No, it's April
No,
showers.
you got
bring
it.
May
Yeah,
flowers.
I don't know. Sometimes I just like don't be knowing sayings.
You're
But
fine.
I think that
I want to start the March showers thing. See if it catches.
maybe Pisces.
You heard it
they'll
here
take
first.
that shit. Tears.
Hey,
But then they would like
Pisces.
salt the earth.
I have Pisces in my chart.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And my Venus is in Pisces, which just means that I'm a romantic ass bitch, which does not align with me being a bad bitch. Because I'm like, I can do anything, but like, let Andrew not get me flowers for something. And I'll be like, you don't love me?
I gotta, yeah, you know what? I gotta learn more about my chart and placements and all that
Oh,
stuff.
don't worry about it. If you got
we'll
your
have a
birth
whole-
certificate, you know what time you were born, we got you.
I just found it, which is terrifying.
Well, I thought Nariba was going to ask to see your birth certificate. And I was like, oh. I was like, we're diving in deep.
I was like, if you want to whip it out right now, I will whip out my phone, pull
I
up the
took a
calculator.
screenshot. No.
Stars.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, oh my God. Okay. So I went to the Adler Planetarium for the first time, like this week. It's free on Wednesdays
I did not know that.
from 4 to 10 p.m. Adler at dark. But
idea.
Shelly and I went, shout outs to her, and
Hi, Shelly.
we're like doing one of the Skywatch things, and I'm like a little bit high because we had an edible, looking at the stars, and they're like asking all these questions about space, and I'm like, yeah, I got all the answers. And then he was like, okay, and what about this star and this star, like that is between the astrological constellations? And I was like, rising and moon, and everyone was silent. And the guy was like, he didn't even say I was wrong. He just continued on with the explanation of what it was. And Rochelle just starts cackling, and I was so grateful. It was pitch blackness because I scurried out of there fast as fuck. I was like, that was wrong.
But you tried.
But I
it.
tried. I
You
committed to
tried.
the try.
Yeah, you tried that.
I just
So-
wanted him to feel like people were listening because no one was responding to him. And he was like, questions. And it was like silence.
Yeah, it's like a
I'm
classroom.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I want him to feel like he's like
Right.
engaging with people.
Right, and then when you randomly call on someone,
Well, you can't do
they
that
have
in the dark.
no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of anxiety
Yeah.
that just pulls through my body at
Oh, yeah.
being called
Oh,
on
yeah.
in that type of setting.
Yeah.
Please don't do that to me.
So on that note, let's talk about your background.
Let's look back
Yeah.
at yesteryear. So I'm Chicago born and raised. I grew up in Albany Park. Have you guys ever?
That's
been
where I
out
live
there?
now.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this. Yeah. I love AP. I went to Lane Tech. I was a bit of a misfit in that I should not have graduated with my class. There's no way that I should have graduated. Just
But
In
you
what
did
sense?
that though.
in the sense that I was always behind. Like, this is a school that's arguably for gifted and really great students, and I just always felt behind. My brain did not keep up with the curriculum, and I was one of those kids. I was always in summer school, and the only thing that clicked for me was cooking. That is 100% throughout my entire childhood is something that I could do and do well. So when I graduated school, I was on track to do a traditional four-year, pursue a traditional 4-year degree.
Right.
And I had this notion that I wanted to go to culinary school, and I got my parents bought in. And
that's a dream.
Well, that's the thing. My sisters were like, there's no way she's going to make money. There's no way she's going to be successful.
No.
We shouldn't let her do this. She's going to throw her entire life away. So my parents were like, well, if you're going to live here and you're going to go to college, you need to pursue a degree that's actually going to bring you money. So I gave up on going to culinary school. I ended up on the nursing track, and 6 months in, I was like, this is not for me. There's no way I'm going to finish this. There's no way.
Those are like a different breed of humans.
Yeah.
Nursing school people.
Yeah.
Props to y'all.
Yes.
I could never.
Salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
And I am not in that league. And I knew it early on. I knew it as I was signing my life away,
Yeah.
So I dropped out and I went into the workforce instead. And I found myself in restaurants. And there's no better place for a misfit than the restaurant. So I started working for...
They got a chokehold on us.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very particular breed of human.
Yep.
So I started working at Starbucks. From Starbucks, I started waiting tables, and I went up the management track wherever I was going, or wherever I was at the time. And it's just something that clicked from my brain, getting people to buy into whatever we were doing, driving sales by creating a safe space for people. I was lucky that I didn't work in hostile environments when I started in the industry. It was a lot of people, they're like, I think you're good at this, so let's develop you. And because I got that sense, I was like, well, let me develop other people.
Yes.
That's exciting for me,
Yeah.
But as I started making the motions, I worked from Champs Americano, which I'm not even going to talk about that. I worked for Giordano's B&B Hospitality, so Italy. And then I realized when I was in the room and I was part of the management track, I was the only Latina. And, these are places that employ upwards of 500 people.
Yep.
But I'm the only Latina manager. So what I realized is like, okay, I'm in the room. It's my job now to create a track and to create space for other people. Which is one of my favorite things to do, right?
Yes.
I think my biggest claim to fame is finding bussers and turning them into servers and food runners and watching them build their wealth and go on to be homeowners and get married and be able to support their kids. I think that's my bread and butter. But all that to be said, I had the best job at the start of 2020. I was making 6 figures. I was like, man, I proved my parents wrong.
You're like, we lit right
I was
now.
making money.
Yeah.
And to this day...
Also very Taurus energy.
Yes.
Wants to comfortably make money and prove everyone wrong.
Man, okay, this is going to happen a lot. I feel like I'm going to walk away knowing more about myself than I ever did.
You're just going to be more aware of it moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to send you my birth time. Let's do this for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's 2020. I'm working this cush-ass job, and I'm so excited because, again, making good money, things are stable. I'm like, well, how can I plan for the future? What are the next steps I'm going to take? And then the pandemic hits. Man, what a slap in the face. I was so ready for this new lifestyle.
That like hammer reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like sitting in the chamber too. It's like you thought you were going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I got totally rocked. There was no way that I was going to find another job during that time,
It was the vibe.
Oh my God. What a time. I can't believe we got through all of that together, which is absolutely insane.
I mean,
Every time I want to say we've gotten through it, I just open up my phone and it's like, now we have to...
Do you remember?
Do you...
It'll be like, here's a time hop of
of
that
But
time.
also, right now, there's like a new version of frickin' strep that's coming back, and it's killed like 12 kids in the UK already. So...
Wow.
What is happening?
I did not know
What
that.
is this? Yeah.
And
This reality is dumb.
I think the other thing too is, okay, we've seen recession after recession. We've seen, tragedy throughout different parts of the world, and here on in our homeland. But I feel like this is the first time that something of this magnitude has happened alongside the power of social media.
Yes.
So every single minute of every single day, a new update or a new, just like witnessing this through someone else's lens who is also doing worse than us because they have less resources, or they're in a part of the world where there's less resources that are actually accessible. I think that's what took it to another level, because there was no escaping it.
Yeah.
No,
you know,
well,
Because media became, I mean, just again to your point with social media, instantaneous.
right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like every single thing is an alert. It's a notification. It's,
Yep.
you know, so that becomes just its own firestorm. You're
I
like,
mean,
well,
I was waiting for the fall of Twitter. I'm like, none of y'all bitches about to know anything ever again. I was like, but it still hasn't happened yet. So
Well, just think about it. Like even us three right now, like each one of us produces content, whatever speed, whatever frequency it's at. Just us alone, we create a significant amount of content. Just multiply that by all the people in this room, all the people on this block, all the people in this neighborhood, and go on and so forth.
this venue specifically.
oh my god,
It's just like there was no escaping it, and I feel like the attention span of the human has only gotten
yeah.
like even less over time. So it's just more access and so much. So how do we get on this topic? Oh yeah. The pandemic.
Yes.
It's like, there's no escaping it. There's no getting away from it, even for a moment. But to take things back, so I lost my job, and our co-founder, my business partner, Brian Soto, he owns and operates accountancy on the north side. Firsthand, he was seeing how business owners were like, I need to apply for loans and other, government funding. I don't have my taxes in order. I don't have X. I don't have X.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were getting turned down. And I'm like, damn, this is real. These are people that have put their entire lives into their businesses, and they're losing their business because
PSA. Paperwork is real.
Yeah.
Out here.
There's no escaping it.
Not at all. And that's something that I have to constantly remind myself. There was something that I was listening to last week, and there was a gentleman that had mentioned, he's just like, why does everything have to be Caucasian paperwork? And I was like, you know what? I feel that. However, the fact of the matter is, it's just like, you can say anything that you want.
Yeah.
But what becomes validating is when you can prove it on paper.
Right.
And that's where I feel like a lot of people suffer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because it's taxing. And don't even get me started on taxes, but
my
it's taxing to do anything with paperwork. It's just like when I think about it, I just want to go to bed.
Well, here's the thing.
Literally want to go to bed.
There are business owners that got by, cash only business or word of mouth or, taking payments through Venmo or whatever it was. But then the pandemic hits.
And the IRS is coming for Venmo.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Like, get a hobby,
Right.
fine, but they're like, this is our hobby now.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's the thing. Now people are like, okay, well, I see this funding is open through the city. How do I apply for it? Well, do you have this in order? What's this checklist look like for you? Do you have any of these things? And that's the tough thing. It's like, okay, so Brian started realizing very quickly that people couldn't get access to capital. So he self-funded our first round of grants. He took money out of his own pocket and said, well, let me create these grants and see if people respond. And sure enough, they did. We had a nice, we created a legitimate application with eligibility and requirements. And even then, even if you don't meet the requirements, go ahead and apply anyway. And what we realized, it's like, okay, the need is there. We know where this capital would go if we had our hands on some. Mm-hmm. And then George Floyd happened. Mm-hmm. And we started seeing some of the unrest that was here in the city. And a lot of small businesses ended up getting, ransacked and vandalized. So we created a post online and we said, if your business has been vandalized and you need help cleaning up or boarding up, just send us a message. And we did not think anything was going to come from it. And sure enough, we had over 200 volunteers show up in like this tiny church parking lot. People brought their own stuff, brooms and bags and, Rubbermaid gloves. And we went out into the neighborhoods and started cleaning up some of the vandalization. And then from there, we're like, okay, well, what's that next level of need? And business owners were like, I need groceries. I need access to what is just like really, really basic needs. So we created a despensa, or I'm trying to think of this word in English. It's like where you could pick up food, hot meals, and household essential items.
It's like a local pantry.
Yeah, like a local pantry or a community kitchen.
This is going to happen a lot. I know the word in Spanish, but computing in English is out the window.
You don't have to worry about that. There are some words that I still can't say the American version of because it's just the Trinidad version of it living in my head.
Oh, yeah.
So you're safe space
I
all
love
day.
that.
Yeah, you're good.
So then we were getting groceries out 3 times a week, hot meals 5 times a week. And then with that little bit of visibility, a funder came to us and said, hey, if you needed to get grants out to more businesses, could you do that? And we're like, fucking yes, absolutely. Look at all these people that applied.
Like,
we know exactly where it should go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how oh my God. And we're like, that's how we got started. I think in that time, it was just about figuring out what the needs were and addressing the needs as they came. Mm-hmm. And then, Dish Relay Kitchen was born. So now it's been a couple years.
See, I love an origin story. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Ching, ching.
Cheers. And Nariba hates when I say it. But cheers.
Oh my
God. Yes.
2 times in a row.
But not on this episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that is so good.
This is fire. Shout out to the crew at Garnet, Ryan and Tati, for literally just like killing this.
That's crazy.
This beverage features Ritual Tequila Alternative, coming to us from our friends at Ritual Zero Proof. And this seasonal tequila Cosmo features mulled cranberry juice and an orange saffron oleo.
Yes.
So come through oleo and come through a tequila alternative cosmopolitan.
Oh my God.
This is super delicious.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving this, like...
The spice on it is great.
Yeah. And this very festive, like, orange corkscrew. It's,
I saw them, like...
Detailed.
Pinning them down on the bar spoon, and I was like, oh, noted.
Yeah,
you're fancy.
Yes. See, you're taking some of their notes into your reality.
I mean, I feel like I got ahead of myself because we were naming cocktails and they were asking my opinion about like what to name some of these drinks, and I was like, how can I make this as gay as possible? So there's like one named Montero, there's one called Drag On.
No, I think that's
Spilt Tea. I was just like,
oh wow.
I need these people to know that I am gay all the time. All the time.
I mean,
yeah,
we're in it. So, it's all good. So
in my like deep dive of what you do for work, I saw
I want to know more.
I was like, why did it sound like
I don't
that?
know.
Okay.
I feel like whenever I'm like doing research, I just feel creepy. Like
I
I'm like
love
minding someone. I'm Mako in your business.
Cool. Metiche.
But like, how do you think, and I know you just explained like all the steps that took you to get there, but like emotionally, what was it like taking the leap from doing this for other people to doing it for yourself for other people?
Ooh.
Boom.
I think
Sorry.
Hey, the lead up to the question was appropriate.
Yeah.
It was right on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the natural progression of things, you know? I'm a firm believer that you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So
You just stole my whole
right.
heart.
Yeah.
So as this process was happening, I felt myself oftentimes depleted at the end of the day because you can only do so much as one person. But I think that's the biggest takeaway. You have to recognize what your limits are as a human being and recognize what your strengths are, because in the beginning, you're going to wear all the hats, right?
Yes.
But recognize, like, I need this and this and this, and I need a person who can do those things, because that is everything that I'm not. And I think that's important in anyone's progression or development as a human being, is recognizing all the things that you are and finding the person that can fill that void. You know?
Agreed.
So, yeah, I could talk about that a lot, because it was a difficult process.
Yeah,
know?
no.
I would say that.
Yeah. Well,
this is
because
what we're here for.
this self-awareness sounds like it's key, really, because as ideas and businesses and, you know, incubators and just countless things grow, the goal should always be to empower those that want to elevate alongside you. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's just like, yes, you wear many hats, but there are also people that are interested in learning X, Y, and Z to support the greater mission.
Yeah.
When you say that, one person comes to mind. His name is Oswaldo Becerra. He is 18 years old. And I met him maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. This is a kid that was sun up to sundown was doing something, whether it was a toy drive or a food drive or collecting coats or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to learn and be in the spaces so he could learn. And now he's like a freshman at Columbia, and he's doing all this amazing work for a grassroots organization on the South Side. He works with a lot of name brands and does partnerships. And this is all education that he's gotten from being in the room with people that were willing to teach him.
Yes.
So I couldn't be more proud of him. But there's so many kids like that. There's so many community activists that are like that have an idea and they're just looking for the mentorship or the community to be able to foster the things that they already have within them.
And part of that, unfortunately, is kind of sidestepped or ultimately derailed, right, by that of gatekeeping, because people feel as if, like, you know, if I have this brand relationship, it is only my brand relationship.
My God.
And
But-
I mean, that comes from a lack of confidence.
But it's
in my
even
opinion.
more than that. I think it's also like when you grow up in a certain community, you're expected to stay there and give back to it. But what people don't always understand is that you have to acquire resources outside of that community and try to bring it back, because what you're lacking there you can build for yourself, but you can't do it if you don't learn different ways of doing it.
Or from different people
Or from
with
different people.
perspectives.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's like not just like what you and your family has always done. It's what's best for everyone in your community. And like if you have the ability to learn something and teach it to the people around you, you can do that. You should be doing that. But that's not very often what happens.
Right. Well, and that also brings me to my next point. Ultimately, my question is, how did you get your community to, like, essentially rally around what you're doing? Because obviously it's a community resource, but also it needs to be cared for by the community at large as well.
Yeah. Number one, that was the most beautiful thing you've ever said. That was, as a collective, that's so beautiful and accurate. But it comes down to trust, right? Just minorities, people of color, just historically, we don't trust anybody.
Right.
And
Facts on facts.
much less, you know, city programs and government funding and all these resources that are sitting here in this, like, land of opportunity where people think just anybody can apply and just anybody, but no, there's so much red tape around stuff. Like even deciphering jargon is not an easy thing. But when it comes down to it, I think it comes down to how genuine we are as people. And our doors are literally open for people to come with operational needs and questions. And we'll never turn anybody away. We'll never say, well, that's just an idea that you have, or your business isn't even successful, or you're cash only, or whatever. Any of these things that, you know, any regular government or city funded program would be like, you don't meet all of these check marks. And I think that's how we get people to buy in, is when you spend time with us, you realize, I don't need anything from you at the end of the day. I'm literally here to serve you, because I've worked for big brands. I've worked for, you know, these companies that are scaled out. If you get a, you know, vanilla latte in New York and you get one from Starbucks that's all, or, you know, a location in California, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
And all that goes back to systems and processes, right? Like, I work for these companies. Let me take the sauce that I know and teach you how to apply that to your business. And once people are walking away with,
I know that's right.
The sauce.
The sauce.
No
You know,
juice here.
No, it's sauce all day.
we're doing a little bit better financially, I'm able to hire someone else, I'm getting ready to scale my business. Those are the markers. Like, I wouldn't lead you wrong. We wouldn't, collectively as a team, we wouldn't lead you wrong. But it's also that, like, you were saying before, we all come from different backgrounds. We're all different people, so all of our perspective is different, and it's a unique application to people that, you know, decide to trust us. But when they walk away with results, that word of mouth is what gets other people to continue buying into what we do.
And is that also mirrored in your ability to access capital as well? Because I mean, just the numbers that I have come across during our research are phenomenal. And, you know, that's like round of applause to you and everyone that you work with, because that is astounding. So obviously there's an element of trust there when it comes to brands and causes that are looking to make sure that their dollars are actually enacting something as opposed to just optically, because they're looking to integrate deeper.
Right.
So can you talk to us a little bit about what the fundraising process looks like with brands?
Yeah, totally. It fucking sucks. And I'll tell you why.
Thank you.
Let me tell you why. Because it's the nonprofit space is extremely competitive. Everyone is going after the same grants and the same funding opportunities. And every cause is important. Whatever lens they're looking at it through, whatever impact they're trying to have, it's still valuable. So how do you say you're in the healthcare space, I'm in the small business space, you're more important, ours is more important, when they're literally pieces of the same thing that, you know, create strong communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's difficult to say the least. I feel very, very fortunate because we have one of the best DEI champions in the world. His name is Hector Pardo. He does all of our grant applications. He does all of our reporting. He works very closely with the city or whatever agency is giving us the funds to make sure that we're hitting all the check marks that we need to as a nonprofit. Brian Soto is our CPA. So again, making sure that we're using the funds for what we say we're going to use them for, and being extremely transparent in that, which I think as an organization makes us very unique. You know, our books are wide open for anyone to be like, okay, where's this money actually going?
Right.
Sandy Nguyen, who is a lawyer and just a champion for humans. Everything she touches is gold. Yeah. Everything she does is with heart and intention. Estelle Lozano, who has worked for some major brands, and she's a brand strategist. So it's everyone taking the things that they're good at and applying it into this space that makes it possible for us to find funding.
I feel creepy because you're like saying all these people's names, and I'm like, I scoured the website. I read all the deets. I'm like, that name sounds familiar because I was doing research.
Hey, due diligence, baby. Yes. That's it at the end of the day. I love a well-researched person. That's exactly right.
Yes. Like, not just rolling up in here and being like, well.
Sometimes I feel like that even with the research, because I'm like, do I know this? And then we start talking and I'm like, it's like when you're on Instagram and you like someone's pictures a lot, but you've never seen them in real life, and then you meet them in real life and you're like, oh, don't say too much. That's what it feels like sometimes.
It's fair. I mean, I was like, that's so
But that's
real.
the thing, like these are all real people, and we create a website, we put all of their details out there.
Because you want the community to trust in the resources that you have available there.
Yeah, and that we're not just saying that we know what we're talking about, but collectively we kind of know what we're talking about. Yeah, because I have the strongest restaurant background, but Brian works with small business all day, every day, so he understands what their needs are. And then all the facets of industry that form, you know, this need within small business, there's just multiple touch points. And I feel like every single person that's on our team is able to do the lifting on the thing that they do well. And that goes back to what I was saying before, like, get you a team where people do what you can't do. And I think that's the biggest takeaway.
It's like a group project where everyone actually showed up and actually did all of their parts.
This is the ultimate group project. And everyone fucking shows up every single day. I'm very lucky and blessed in that sense, because everyone is all the things that I'm not. I miss them. I see them all day, every day.
I was about to be like, you see them tomorrow, I promise.
I was like, I love that. So, because, you know, we've touched upon fundraising and, you know, access to capital. I'm really interested in kind of diving it a bit deeper in regards to that. Yeah. So overall, like, equity in those funds, right? Because it's one thing to be able to access them, but it's another thing to be able to make sure that it goes in the right places.
Right.
How does that work, and how does that? Because I'm sure it's a struggle, right? Because you brought up a brilliant example between, hospitality and then like nurses and like, just like grant writing, like in general, because I mean, you do have to make some tough decisions, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
like, is based on, creeping. It's like
Researching.
You're not trying to tell people what they can and cannot do.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's like, I guess the question is like, what is the determining factor for whether or not you actually engage with a pre-existing entity?
I would say that there's no determining factor, and that there's no, for example, we work with creators that were working for somebody else at the start of the pandemic and now have created their own businesses and have scaled those businesses.
Spicy.
What is it? Oscar Samayoa from Billeta Tacos, Sam Zeitlin from
You mean
Silent
this?
Yes. You see what I'm saying? Okay, here's the perfect thing.
Cannot wait. Really quickly, when this episode drops,
wow.
we will have already
Another
met him.
one?
Yes.
But
Well,
I have not met him. But I'm very excited to meet him.
He started following me on Instagram 3 days ago, and I almost took a screenshot of it.
Same.
I was like,
Yes.
I've been like traveling my ass to Big Kids whenever there's a pop-up to
Right.
get shit. Last time I was there, I got, thank you.
This is
I
so
got
good.
the birria ramen. I felt uncomfortable because I was
God.
so full.
You know what's interesting about him? Okay, so prior to the pandemic, I had never met him, heard of him, seen him, nothing. No, none of the same like circles or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I figured out, or I realized what he was doing, and immediately I called him. I was like, "Hey, have you heard of our organization?" And sure enough, this man was reluctant. He's like, "What do you mean you want to give us money?"
Exactly. Oh my God.
Like, what his main thing was, well, what's the catch? My biggest takeaway there is that we ended up talking for 2 hours the first time that I reached out to him. And it was a cold call. I got his number somewhere and I just called him.
I like
And
that.
now he's one of my
Somewhere.
best friends and one of the people that I like rely on the most. If I'm ever in a jam, he's the person I call. I needed our knives at the restaurant development center sharpened one day. Sure enough, this man showed up and just started sharpening knives on his own block.
Love it.
But my point is, we help everyone that we can, right? This is why, we need the support from big brands, government agencies, because we literally know where the people who are in need, where they are.
Yes.
And what their needs are, And everybody's going to be different because they're in different phases within their business. We have different programming that addresses those needs. But ultimately, it comes down to capital. People need money for rent, utilities, payroll. That's just the basic stuff. Not even to
Just
like
regular shit.
just really like the most basic part of the business, not even to develop the next series of recipes or your food and beverage program or marketing or creating new digital assets to market the business. It's rent, utilities, and payroll. They're using the money we give them for the most basic shit.
Well, watching one of your videos on YouTube, there was something that
Man, you did a deep dive.
I mean,
Okay, with YouTube.
I was like, if there's a video to watch, I will watch that shit.
Oh
too.
my God.
Yeah. And so Oscar really stood out to me because he had mentioned like a CPA, right? It's just like, I'd be in a lot of debt. I would, owe a lot of taxes. And then there was the break. It's just like, Oscar is not in a lot of trouble. Actually,
Yes.
he's doing just fine. And I was like, sick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, he's now able to grow and create different revenue streams for his business, which is what we've seen. He's really great at social media. He's really great at
He's so good at social media. It's
Yeah.
annoying.
A maverick.
I love
This
it.
man.
Yeah.
But,
So are you too, actually.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And we're going to touch upon that a little bit later because I got 2 things I want to ask you about.
Oh, my God.
That
Yes, I
I
would.
cannot wait because I'm obsessed with both of those people that you have collabed with. So, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is my point. You know, he was working for somebody else at the start of the pandemic. Now, you know, he's grown into almost like a tastemaker here in Chicago.
Yep.
And there's other business owners that we're working with that have now secured their brick and mortar after 2 years of hard work and pop-ups and street vending and stuff like that. And I think the biggest, the most heartwarming story, are you guys familiar with Ruby's? Do you guys know anything about Ruby's? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the Landa family. Incredible people. They were street vendors for 25 plus years at Maxwell Street. And we met them at the start of pandemic. We gave them, a grant. And then I tried this food maybe for the second time and I realized, like, this is good. Why are you guys only open 1 day a week? And they were selling out of their house, mind you. So we built the restaurant development center. We have a growth program where it's basically, we treat the restaurant like an interactive classroom. You come in, you sell, we teach you diverse revenue streams. We create a curriculum that's tailor-made for you and your phase in the business. So they went from selling 1 day a week in Maxwell Street to now selling 4 days a week. They were recently featured on Netflix's Taco Chronicles.
Yes, and we're going to talk about
and
that
too. They have
Yeah.
just taken off.
Yeah.
They have taken up all the systems that they built was in preparation of this, right? They went from handwriting their tickets, cash only, to cloud-based ordering systems, POS.
Yes.
Full catering, takeout, delivery, and they're their own engine. We give them the runway, we give them the education, but they're 100% family fueled. And I think that for me is the best fucking part. Because we're watching their growth, and that's generational wealth.
That is generational
absolutely.
wealth.
Yeah.
Well, that warms my soul. And
I've been waiting for you to segue into this, bitch.
I feel like
What's gotta happen?
I love a tea.
Yes, it is the perfect segue to mention the next offering from
Wait,
Garnet.
Can I guess
Yes.
what the flavor? Can I tell you what I think it tastes like before you read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it smells.
I'm not reading anything. It's off the top.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Stop lying to these people.
Just so you know, it's coming right off the top.
All right.
There we
so
go.
There's like a savoriness to this. Am I
It's
tripping?
giving me sesame, a little bit of like something chocolatey or in the like chocolate regions of my brain.
I get a brown rice kind of deal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that part.
Well,
Is it a toasted rice?
okay. It is featuring the whiskey alternative from Ritual Zero Proof, and we call it the Hot Hoji, which is an Asian-inspired hot toddy with hojicha tea, vinegar, honey, and it's garnished with toasted sesame oil and dehydrated lemon. Yes. Yes. And it is absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Thank you. I like
Read
hot
this up.
things.
Yeah. Ryan and
You
Tati.
can't fight them. Right. Ryan and Tati.
Thanks, y'all.
Go off then.
Yeah, so good. And this is a nice addition to
a
the
little
tea that we
glossy
might
on
be
the top.
spilling.
Tea.
So, it's nice. So I want to talk about what potential brands could be doing better to support work like this.
Oh, yeah, that's great. At the end of the day, it comes down to when I look at brand partnerships or the digital assets that I create, I'm like, I know that was expensive. I know that y'all spent at least $5,000 to get your crew out there, the editing process, just the logistical stuff. The Ubers, the lunches, the whatever to, complete the full day and make it well rounded out. And in my head, y'all couldn't just use that $5,000 to fund, 5 grants for 5 restaurants. That's more impactful, but it all goes with stuff, right? There's got to be a proof that this work is, or the money's going to the right place. I think when it comes down to it, this is what's tough, right? Because I think at DRK, we work really hard to market ourselves. Like we keep everything in-house, we're bootstrapped. But there are other organizations that are doing phenomenal things. They're not that great at marketing themselves. So are they going to get the same shot? No. Do we rely heavily on our network to get some of these opportunities? Absolutely. And then I think that's the hard part. That's what keeps us on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Right.
I think it comes down to not gatekeeping. Like for us, we've been approached by a large brand recently, and they said, "Hey, could you use this money?" I said, "Absolutely, absolutely."
What did they want?
But what do you want from me? Yeah. Is what I want to know. You know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we ended up walking away because that's a whole lot of stuff for $1,000. And if we look at the time versus money, like just very, very basic.
Yeah.
I could do a lot more with my team's time in the 30 hours of work that you're asking me to do for a fucking $1,000.
Right.
You know, like, and I'm not going to turn my nose up at that because ultimately that could be a grant for someone else. But it's time away from our purpose. And honestly, we do the majority of our work in spending time with people in their businesses, opening up the development center for them to come and visit us.
Yeah, because I mean, it's... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and you like built your model around like not having a lot of red tape in between the money that you have for the community and the community itself.
Right.
And if they're coming in with the structure of you have to jump through hoops to get this money, that we're going to benefit from the fact that you're now doing this with our money, like it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right.
I don't understand why people have to be so difficult.
Yo, we've gotten grants before where it's like, you need to spend this much and then we'll give it back to you. Like, you need to spend $25,000 and then we'll just repay you. And I'm like, but I don't have $25,000 to spend.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Right.
You know? So like and I appreciate you saying what you said, because when people come in, they're like, well, what do I have to do? Like, look, man, I don't want you to have to do anything extra. You're already living it every day. What I'm asking you to do is just think about it differently, you know? And if this gets you from one week to the next, at that point, it's just survival, right?
Yes.
But if it's comes down to growing the business and scaling the business, you know, I'm giving you, this is all free. It's up to you what you decide to do with it.
True.
And that's a difference.
Well, and then also it's not your organization isn't just a financial resource. It's also, you know, you focus on curriculum building. Like that's significant in and of itself.
Yeah.
If you want to touch upon that as well.
Yeah, we have 3 mainline programs. The DRK 1K campaign, it's $1,000 rent utilities payroll. That's the introduction into our organization. Get into the database, get into our email list. It's just a way for you to meet us first and then, you know, get a little bit of relief. We have the growth program, which is an interactive classroom. We're open Monday through Wednesday for office hours. So people come in to ask their operational needs and questions. And they have access to CPA, operations, legal, marketing. This is all open to them. Thursday through Sunday, we're open to the public as Rubies. So it's the interactive classroom. Yes.
Yeah.
So Rubies is building, their generational wealth, and they have the opportunity to do that within those business hours. But we have this space that's open for other creators to come in, work on their formulation, work on, bottling their products. And that's our market program. Mm-hmm. So how do you take something that you're already making, whether it's salsa or tea or whatever, and how do you bottle it and get it market ready? So think your SKU, your nutritional facts, ingredients list, and how do you get something that you're already making every day into a Cermak or a Mariano's or, a Jewel Osco, and create that additional revenue stream for yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes that can feel like a significant mountain to climb.
Yeah. Because think about it like this. I know you have a really great idea that you're sitting on, and it's like, who do I go to help me scale this or make it a profitable revenue stream for me? Mm-hmm. And that's what we do, is we'll sit down with you and be like, okay, these are all the things you need to do. This is X we need to spend. Let's bootstrap it. Let's save money. Let's apply for this grant. Let's help you get, whatever resources we can get collectively for you. We're never going to tell you to take out a loan. I think that's one of the most daunting and scary things that you could tell undocumented women, people of color. Like, you could just take out a $50,000 loan. No. You're tripping. No, because you're already in the hole. So bootstrapping is using the resources that you already have around you. and then learning the direct tie between the finances and operations. So going in, you have an idea of how much it costs, and then you have a better understanding of what you need to do to be able to support that part of your business.
Yes. Yes. Literally, yeah, mic drop. Yeah, I was like, I don't, like, how do,
It's
Nariba, go ahead. I don't even know how to follow it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think if people understood how to use the resources that they have already, or like if people understood the resources they had already, I think a lot more people would find starting and having your own business a lot less daunting. But because everything is made so difficult to acquire and maintain, and people don't have like the education to do it, we see a lot of them die out faster than they grew. Yeah. And
they're still in the hole after that.
Yeah. And what you're trying to do is have them have the fundamentals before they even make the financial commitment.
Fucking yes.
You know?
That is it. If I could put that on our website, just understand the fucking fundamentals first before you open a business, which is so like, it's aggressive, but everything costs something. You should understand the cost of every part of your business, and this includes your labor. Just think about, okay, I paid $14 the other day for like a turkey sandwich, and I was like, this is not $14 because there's labor that goes into it, all of the ingredients, food costs, plus the utilities, just the payroll. All of this goes and should go into the cost of the sandwich. And we're watching, inflation drive up prices everywhere. But consumers as a whole are like, oh, well, I don't want to pay that much. If it costs you more for gas, transportation.
Listen.
Why the fuck would food be exempt from that? And why on earth would you look at a small business owner and look at them like they're crazy for charging more when literally every other facet of industry has driven their prices up?
Like this, okay, I think about this all the fucking time because when I was doing food cost in restaurants and trying to like price out a dish, and I know that it should be $35 for this dish.
Yep.
And someone looks me in the eye and says, we cannot charge $35 for a pasta dish. You want me to put caviar, mushrooms, we have to get seaweed in for garnish and for the stock because you wanted this thing that I made for a special occasion to be on the menu permanently. And I cannot charge $35. How are we going to afford all of the fucking line cooks that come in here and do the prep along with me? How are we supposed to run all these services and not pay them more money than what they should be making? Right. It's just like the financial stability of people who don't understand how money works and how labor works. Like it's not for free. We're not showing up doing this Oompa Loompa style.
Right.
We're just happy to be here. No.
Right. Okay. Ruby's has a taco that is literally double the meat of any other taco on the block. And it's a handmade tortilla. Hand-cut meats. Everything is handmade that goes on this thing. And they're charging $5. Around the corner, it's $4.75 for 30% less. And every week, someone's coming into the reviews and saying, yo, $5 taco, that's a lot. If you go to an Italian restaurant, right, and you get a plate of pasta, it's dough and meat. This taco is also dough and meat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So, different vessel and different flavor profile, but y'all won't turn up your nose at $22, $26 for a plate of pasta.
Not at all. And that's a cultural thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And y'all are turning your nose up at $5, but look at the size of this thing, know?
Right. Yeah.
And it's crazy the state that we're in, but we were in this type of state even before the pandemic.
Oh,
it's always been this like straddling this line between do I want to pay that and do I not? It's like
I think the other thing is too that a lot of people think that ethnic foods should be less money. They're like, to make this at home, it's cheaper.
Cheap. Yeah.
They're like, it's cheap to make this at home, so like we'll fucking make it at home.
It's also cheaper for you to make a ribeye at home.
Exactly.
Like by definition.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
They just don't want to pay for the labor. They just want to pay what they would pay for it if they did it themselves.
Here's the thing. People of color were really good at taking cheap cuts of meat and making them damn good, you know? And for you to walk away and say, well, this is, what is it? This is beef fillet or this is flank steak or whatever. Why are you charging so much for it? I'm like, is it good or is it not?
Right.
Because I've had a cut of meat, you know, on this block. You know, like, all right.
Yeah.
I see we're cooking seasonally still. Like, this is great. But I've also had a stewed piece of meat from Café Marcella's in Humboldt Park. Definitely cook low and slow at $6 a sandwich, $7 a sandwich. So,
Right. Oh, and this is something that I wanted to mention earlier, but it really feels like the work that you're doing is very much driven by like heritage. You know, it's just like, and I think that there's such a beauty in that, because you had already mentioned how nobody turns up their nose at you know, Italian cuisine, right? It's like, because again, black and brown people, their cuisine is always seen as less than. It's the cheapest option, or it should be the cheapest option, but it's more intensive in regards to flavoring, service, the overall experience of it, because it's a part of their culture.
yeah.
You know, and that is what people need to understand that they're investing in when they are supporting businesses such as this.
The preservation of culture through business ownership is so important. So I'm from Guatemala, and there's a handful. No, I love it. I love your sound effects. There's a handful of Guatemalan eateries in Albany Park and on the north side. If they didn't exist, there would be no way for me to get or be able to access that piece of my culture.
Right.
Because, you know, my mom lives in Guatemala part-time, so she's back and forth. And if she's not cooking it for me, no one is. Like, I'm cooking it myself.
Yeah.
But that's what allows you to connect with that piece of you. Because I was born here, but, you know, when I go back there, what brings us all together, regardless of where I was born or my cousins or who are actually living in the culture every day, is food. It's the great connector of people.
Yeah.
So, like, Oscar, who's also Guatemalan, before I even met him, or met him or like actually spent time with him, when I tried his food, I was like, this is undeniably Guatemalan. They're just like, how he built this flavor is so important and unique to our culture. And it was so beautiful because it felt so familiar, even though it was the first time. And I feel like that's anyone, anywhere, right?
Yeah.
You have a bite or something that takes you back to a time or a place, or it connects you to a person that's no longer here.
Right.
But it's food.
I almost wore my Chapin like sweatshirt
cute.
that Rochelle made me, and I was like listening to her and Oscar talk about it, and I was just like, the way that she lights up when she's like talking to someone that's familiar with like her heritage and like what that means culturally and stuff. It's like, I'm grateful that there's so many people from my family here in the States that when I go home, we can like create that sense for ourselves.
Yep.
But like, there's not a lot of that prevalent here in Chicago for you, the way that like I can secure it with my family.
Right. They're pockets of it, right? And that's why we connect with creators or people that are creating businesses that take you back to that place.
Right.
Rochelle's pronouns are she, her? Okay, so I don't know her, right? But I know of her business and I've seen all of her products and I'm just like, man, like I can't wait to meet her. Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's this sense of pride. I'm like, the second I get in a room with her, we're going to be talking about all this stuff that nobody understands. But
She's gonna be here later today.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to like wait so I can meet her. It's like this
feel free
mythical
to chill.
human.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's my point. You know, that's the importance of diverse entrepreneurs within the small business space. It's not only answering a need, like a personal need or an emotional tie to food, but it's also creating resources, jobs, circulating within the economy, shaping a community identity, keeping taxes close. There's so much importance and significance to small business. If you guys are looking at what's happening in Englewood right now, they opened a Whole Foods maybe like 6 years ago.
And closed it.
Sorry. Yeah, I remember this. I know what's happening. Yeah.
You know, and it was supposed to sit at the center of this reimagined business corridor or business like incubator, and then it closed. So right back, we're going to depending on small businesses to answer the need for food scarcity, because even these big companies are quick to give up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's
they just write that shit off.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's just like, on to the next. Yep. But small businesses open doors, creating resources, creating jobs, circulating within the economy. Like I can go on and on.
Well, that reminds me of something that I've spoken to my father about extensively, because, you know, I'm like looking at all the things and being like, you know, like, am I framing it this way? Like, what do you think about like this additional framing? And he's like, you know, the thing that we were never taught, because my father's in business, he's just like, when you feel like you have failed, you're supposed to give up. But he's like, these companies out here, they run with a whole different language.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this was years ago. He's like, Justin, if you want to create something that is sustainable, you have to be anchored in what you're passionate about, but then also learn that language as well. And I mean, that's a very, very challenging thing, because all of that shit is gatekept completely. And so thankfully I've had access to resources, but then I've also been able to learn the appropriate questions to ask.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just, you know, being a Black queer man, I mean,
and a tall one,
and a tall drink of water for y'all.
You're just like,
yes, exactly.
All eyes on you, baby.
Yeah, the tree to climb is real.
Oh my god.
Yes. But no, and I feel like all of that is interlaced with this topic of heritage, right? Because we all want sustainability for ourselves, our communities, and, you know, most importantly, our culture. And yeah, I just think that it's really beautiful to always be able to come back to food to remind us of that.
Always.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, like, I think food sits on this intersection of like, yes, beauty and structure and resiliency, because this recipe had to go all the way down to the rabbit hole to still exist within our like
all
book
the way
of recipes.
Down the river,
you know. Wow.
Yeah. I made it all the way down the river.
I know what you're referring to, but we're not going to bring that up. But
my ancestors said paddle, bitch. But no, I get that. I like, my mom has this one fried bake recipe, and there is no written recipe for it. And I have tried writing it down so many times. And it has passed from her like as far back as we know, her third great grandmother, down to her great, then her grand, then her mom, then to her, and now to me and my nephew. And we're like desperately trying to figure out how to hold on to this. Right. And I have it written down because I forced her to put everything inside of a bowl on a scale. And I took notes. But I feel like there's a way in communicating and just like talking about it that stays in your brain more than like if you had it written down somewhere. I think the value of it is also in the storytelling of like these recipes and where they came from. Like carrots, like carrot rice, very popular in Venezuela, somehow came over to Trinidad. And when I'm eating it, the first time I made it and I gave it to Rochelle, she was like, we have something like this. And it's just like, that's what I'm talking about. Like everything is a journey of like what we had available and what we could do with it.
Right.
Interestingly enough.
Yeah, and there's value in that.
Yeah.
But, the food diaspora is so wild because in Guatemala, we have a very precise concentration of Chinese people. So there is Guatemalan chow mein, which is
Trinidad too. Yes.
fucking wild.
Spice
Because
trade.
do y'all put ketchup on yours? Because we put ketchup on
Yes.
ours, which is like trying to explain that to someone else. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm not making it up. This is real.
This is
Like
fire.
stewed chickens and stuff like that in Trinidad, ketchup and mustard.
Yeah.
And people are like, why? And it's like, these are the things that were available. Like
Yeah.
tomato paste. I don't think I saw a single bit of tomato paste growing up
Yeah.
in Trinidad. Everything is ketchup, which is made with 80% pumpkin, bitches. That shit is sweet
Hey.
as fuck, and I love it.
A lot of our dishes in Guatemala are based off of recados, which are what pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, the things that you have on hand, right?
Yeah.
And just like, I'm not going to talk about anybody else's culture because I'm not familiar enough. But I will say that in all my conversations with other people, this is a theme that echoes throughout like all of our experiences with food, is how someone else's culture has trickled or found its way into ours and how we still carry that, you know?
Right.
And if we don't take care of small businesses, then we lose that tradition. We lose that, that connection to our past.
Right. Well, still very important and wildly valid. We have talked about quite a few things, and as we kind of as we're coming up on time.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One thing that I would like your feedback on is something that we have talked about in the past, the integrity of need, right? So like we sat down in season 1 with Grocery Run Club, and they
Shout out.
Yes, absolutely.
Always.
Shout
Shout out
out
Lucy Jorge.
all day. Yes. This again will be dropping in the future, but we'll also be seeing them in a few days.
Oh, fun. Are they
gonna be there?
They will
Cute.
be there. Yes. And so what's really great is they both mentioned how important it is for people to feel as if they are worthy to ask for help.
No,
Jesus.
we don't need that shit. Ask a fucking question. That's what I be telling people. Don't be scared,
Yeah.
because you never know unless you ask.
I literally got a message this week, and it was through Instagram. They're like, hey, I finally got enough courage to ask, but I need help with this. Is that something you guys do? And I get more messages like that than I can count. And every single time it's heartbreaking. Because it's like, how long did you sit there with that problem before you thought we could
And it
figure
became
out
a bigger problem.
and it became a bigger problem,
Yes.
and you waiting,
Yep.
and we could have figured out a solution.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
one of those messages came in, and I responded right away because I'm the one that runs the social. And I was like, look, you can do this. This is a link to our CPA. He has open hours, or like he opens up his schedule, jump on his books. He'll do a 30-minute consultation. He'll just sit with you and figure out what it is that you need. And their response was, it's that easy? I was like, yes, it's that easy. That's all you need to do. It's not like this membership-based thing, or you have to be part of our organization, or I have to know you. If I have a solution, let me just connect the dots.
People aren't
That's
used
it.
to that.
They're
not
not.
used
Yeah.
to business help also potentially being nice.
And no strings attached.
Yes.
Because I don't need anything from you. Like, at the end of the day, we're going to work hard to get our metrics and hit our numbers. But there's no gatekeeping with what we do. There can't be, because the solution is floating out here. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't tell me what you need, then I can't connect the two.
Exactly. Dang.
Well,
I feel like I can do this for hours.
absolutely.
Hours.
And I want to. And I want to.
Brains. It's okay. We're gonna see you in like 3 days.
Low key, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
Like
we'll
legit.
keep this.
3 days.
Yeah, we'll keep this
You
going.
said it.
So I'm really like, we don't have to get into the specifics here, but like, shout out to y'all for like your collaboration with like Omar, and just like
Yeah.
excuse me, Benito out here, excuse me.
I know. I was waiting for you to do
because
this.
I was like, wait a second. And not to bring up the time suck that TikTok is, but I follow Omar Apollo on TikTok. And shout out to him.
I'm just going to say, number one, Okay, so working in the industry, you wait on, celebrities and you come across all kinds of people all the time. But having actually worked in like a brand partnership this closely to arguably a celebrity, I've never met anyone more humble or kind. He was one, and he smelled so good. Let me tell you.
Oh my God.
I will talk about that forever.
Okay.
But
we'll continue that conversation offline. Yeah.
I mean, we started talking about music, and he pulled out his iTunes, I pulled out mine. We're just like making comparisons. What a kind soul. He is a beautiful person. So he came to DRK and he, spent some time with us, and we had just a really organic conversation. His parents used to be small business owners. They ended up closing their restaurant. And he's like, I wish my parents had known about stuff like this. And I was like, this is why we exist. Because if, there's so many of our parents that didn't have, those resources or even know where to go. So hands down, one of the best experiences I've ever had, just ever, being in a space and being able to share space with someone like him.
Yeah. Amazing.
Him and his team, aces.
Love it.
100%.
Love it. So as we prepare to do the things that we know that we need to do.
Yeah.
Final question for you, Jackson.
Okay.
I'll have a follow-up.
It's a loosely based out time.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
So
It's like when you're breaking down a kitchen and like service stopped, but you still got to clean. It's like that.
Yeah.
This is a cleaning section.
Couple shifties.
Yeah. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would you like for it to be?
Wow.
That shit was heavy.
Wow. Mm-hmm. If I could be remembered for one thing.
This is where we would play the Jeopardy theme song if we had money to do it.
If we had the license for it.
That's right. You gotta have a license that shit.
Yeah.
Can't even sing it.
I would like to be remembered for the way that I made you feel. Yeah. Like if I shared,
heart.
like in this moment right now, right?
The crowd.
Yeah.
If we have a chance to break bread, or you're coming to me with a genuine problem, I don't want you to walk away like I belittled you or I made the conversation a lot longer than it needed to be. I want you to feel seen and heard, and like my response is genuine. I think, if I were to die tomorrow, I would have lived a good life. But it could happen.
I cannot say that shit. This morning, I called my cat a bitch because she meowed too long. I'm not going to be remembered for shit. God. All right.
Man.
She started it.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, cats are cats are a whole man. There's a reason that whole generations and cultures surround their worship around this animal.
I know.
Because man, there's something going on with you guys.
I did it by accident. We have 4 of them, and I feel like I
gosh.
just worked for them.
That's
It's not
too
my
many.
fault. It's not my fault.
That's a lot of mouths to feed, and they're not even paying taxes.
That's what I'm saying. These bitches
They're not paying taxes, not paying
rent free,
Nothing.
asking me to feed them and scoop their
Literally
shit.
a walking vet bill all the time.
Well, that's why I'm in a relationship with a vet tech.
There you go. So, yeah. I was like, it just clicked.
Yeah, we don't pay for shit. One of them swallowed a fucking eraser a couple of months back. Took him to work. He's fine. He's fine now.
There you go. Well,
Attention seeking.
so, Jackson, how was your time with us?
Oh, I had a great time sitting with you guys. I'm not gonna lie, I did a deep dive on all these different episodes, and I was like, man, these are some smart people who've come on here. So,
Well,
I mean, I felt like I learned a lot today from you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you guys. Every
smart.
episode.
Thank you.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm loyal.
you're like, I'm all of the things. So, how do we find you?
Ooh.
If you want to be found.
Well,
Earlier it didn't happen.
Yeah, that was a hard line.
4
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
if you are a small business owner and you need help and you're ready to receive actual, genuine help, you can find us at dishrooletkitchen.com or follow us on social media, LinkedIn at dishrooletkitchen. You can also follow me at Jackson Says. If you just want to drop a line and say, hey, or I need help, or,
Sweet.
want to break some bread,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's an open door.
Oh my God. I was going to say the trick is you have to listen to the whole episode to get that information to apply for the grant.
Check that off right
We
there.
need an offering in the form of bread and butter if you want to. God, I love bread and butter.
Extra points if the bread is fresh from your heart.
Right. Also, I have not forgotten that we're going to do a taco crawl. Okay.
Oh,
because when
exactly, we did talk about this.
We sure did. We sure did. Yes, we'll figure out the details.
Okay.
Everyone's invited.
Okay.
It's going to be
let's
amazing.
go.
Yeah. So
I got
so
some
excited.
gems, some nice holes in the wall that don't get written about, that don't get any shine, but grind in day in and day out, and
All right.
fabulous.
Perfect.
Okay.
Nariba, any closing words?
I mean, usually I'm the official closeout. You haven't even done housekeeping yet.
This is correct.
Do you want me to just...
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Girl, my name's Reba Shepherd. I used to be at the end, but now I'm second to last. You can find me on Instagram at Rebaru, Rebaru. And thanks for stopping by.
And in final closing, I would like to shout out our friends here at Blind Barber for hosting this necessary
Blind
conversation.
Barber.
Yes, and then also our friends and partners at Ritual Zero Proof.
The proof is in the zeros.
That is not their tagline.
That's not their tagline. I was just trying something.
But yes, no worries. And then also the entire production crew, Garnet, Rhyme, Tati, Levi, Mario, Marcus, Max, all of the people.
Damn.
And I am Justin Arnett Graham, and you
Yes.
can find me on Instagram at ThisIsBiko. Peace!
Bye.
Woo. Okay. My goodness.
I got some
by the way,
sweaty ears.
Fire. Oh my God.
Sweaty
Great
ears.
job.
Thank you.
job.
That was
so much
wild.
fun.
Honestly.
You're so easy to
Yes.
talk to.
Thanks, y'all.
God.
Yes.
One of them is like not even 2 blocks from me.
No, Markello's Bakery.
Yeah.
You got. Oh, you're we need to go. Shelly, I remember
Yes.
now.
Yep.
You gotta hit me up. What is it, Markello's?
Markello's Bakery.